This is my altered book journal, getting close to being finished, but still have work to do in it. Life isn't ever finished, I guess. I've embellished the doorknob that opens it with a couple labels that came in the mail or on some groceries or something. It says open here. Inside on the end papers for the front cover, I scanned a watercolor that I had done and copied it on my laser printer. It's watercolor with some of my doodangles, and it's hard to read, but in the center along here it says in the beginning, and I included that, and then around the edges tore up book pages from the Doors of the Night, which was the other book that I've incorporated into this. So this is the end papers. The metal tab is just to protect from the screw and washer that's on the doorknob. The table of contents and title I painted with acrylic paints and some gesso to make the text blocks, and left the words contents and mostly magic, which I had masked in when I was painting it. I've added an altered postcard that I had created years ago. I painted the back of it, but this is a personal page with found text. And the postcard was of a windmill in Holland, but I added this parched earth and a duck on it. And then on one of the fans of the windmill, it says troubled waters. And again, the Doors of the Night, I incorporated the title, and this says into the underworld. Another personal page, we did a masking tape exercise on some other pages, but I decided to use the masking tape technique and did some with my cheap craft acrylic paints. And we did a lot of text writing, and then I painted over it and applied masking tape and ripped it on and off and on and off. And so that is that page. Left some tape on and then a bit of duct tape there. This is some fabric that covers the back of another altered postcard. Another one I'd created years ago, another personal page about control, and I added some fabric that I really like, some favorite fabric. Cat's Life press stamp that says imagine, or inside you can be anything, and then over that I put a little bit of mesh. This was one of my tabs of the book cover. On the back of the tab I applied some crackle paste, just a thin layer of it, stamping why. This is some of my own handmade background paper, and so I made this years ago and hadn't used it. So I added it as a fold out, and with some napkin collage and acrylic, fluid acrylics, I just have why. Do I have to know why? Another page waiting to be done. This is a collage with some Asian calendars, rice paper that was sent to me in a swap, and I made some text blocks out of gesso with that, and had a lot of fun. I used fluid acrylics and some artist pens to write on there. And another page, personal about life. This page is waiting to be done. Another tab from an envelope. And this tab came in the mail from Staples. I think it was an ad. It's a self-adhesive tab. Thought it was cool, but because it was transparent. Put that on. This exercise was all about family, basically about family tree or self-portrait, however we wanted to interpret it. I put an envelope over the page. This had been totally masking tape, both pages covered with strips of masking tape. I then wrote about the family all over that, and then I covered it all up with a piece of quilt that my mother had made years ago. It's just a fragment all ripped and torn, but I thought it was a good metaphor for our family tree going back centuries. And the family is calling me from music. So there's a lot of personal stuff in here I won't go into. I love using mail. I just used some duct tape to add that on. Another altered postcard on this envelope, which I did years ago. And that's the Mayflower. I am a Mayflower descendant. I know that seems hard to believe, and inside here is a lot of documentation about that. But I covered it with mesh because even though I'm pleased to have knowledge of a long family history, I didn't want to dwell on it. This was about me and my life, but my family is part of my life. Another personal page here with found text. Used fluid acrylics here. This page was more just accumulating over a half hour's time from the stuff that was right in front of me on my desk and just doing a mixed collage. So I used fabric and napkins and a tag thing from vegetables from the grocery store. I don't throw anything away. Postage stamps, weekly special, some game money. Anyway, I did a whole mishmash collage, and then when the timer was up, I stopped. And then on top of that, I added, this was a personal sanctuary, which for me is my garden, photo of me as a little girl, and then I stamped over that. It's a garden woodshed looking out into the garden. And it makes a little tent, and with a paper clip, I can just fold it into a tent and clip it together, and that's for me and nobody else. And duct tape tab. We had an exercise to think of our favorite sanctuary where we'd like to be, and I chose the ocean because next to the garden, that is my favorite place. I painted this with, or not painted, but just used my drawing pens and then a baby wipe to kind of wipe it like watercolor. I had first put gesso on the page. The borders from a napkin collage. I bought a Hawaiian shirt last summer, and this was the tag from the shirt. It's a Jams World tag, and I liked it because on the back it had palm trees and an ocean, so I made that a tag for the page. This is another personal page about resignation and what do we want to resign in our life. I've written on that. This envelope contains some letters of recommendation, and I had long ago made envelopes out of calendars. So I have in here letters of recommendation I've written. This one is from the Buddha, and this one is from the banker, and this one is from my art muse. And they go inside this envelope. This tag pulls up and down, and it says the journey is reward, and that was from some clothing. So you can see I don't throw anything away. Put a bunch of duct tape on the back of the envelope and also help to hold it in the book. This is another personal page using some found text and acrylic paints. Another personal page, napkin collage. You can probably hear my cat meowing in the background. Yes, this is Buster. Buster does not know how to be quiet. Yes, Buster. Back to the book. This is a stamp holder, and just the theme of this page is life is not all black and white. And this is more of my collaged paper, a favorite poem, fabric support, lots of strengthening to keep the book together even though the pages are sewn. I used text from the other book, Doors of the Night, and just mishmash collage all over this. This was some of my own background paper again that I added into the book. A headline from our paper that says, Out of the Darkness and Into the Light, and that was sort of the theme of my journal, I'm finding out as I take this journey. Another altered postcard. She always dreamed of becoming a wood carrier. That used to be a joke for me, but now it's sort of become a metaphor for carrying the heavy load through thick and thin. So I added that in there. This is the back of my background paper. Here's my want ad page. Wanted one or more, inquire within, and then these are stamped words of adventure, daydreams, intrigue, journey, destiny. My Coke can tab. These pages are waiting to be worked in. This is some more of my background paper, and I added this in with duct tape, red this time, and I'll fill that in with something. And I kept this from the book as a tab for the addition of that background paper. How the good gifts were used. I like that. This envelope's empty, ready for something. And this page, which obviously was from Snow White, this whole book was rewritten fairy tales, but I've made her into a good magic maker, mostly magic. She's creating hearts from apples. And the playing cards I liked because of the color. And then I have favorite pictures in here and more found text. And it ends up saying that, let it be remembered, this shall mark the spot. And it's a heart. And I wish to tell you that I am leaving because I have things to do. Remember, live happily. And these are some of my doodangles. So this is my journal so far in Juliana Cole's wonderful workshop, which I just love, the Extreme Journaling Altered Book. And there you have it. Thanks for looking.